Police say that ICE tactics are eroding public trust in law enforcement. That's not surprising at all.
Has prioritized immigration enforcement, which has led some. The Trump administration has prioritized immigration enforcement, which has led some local police leaders to say it's making their jobs harder. That's because many people living in the U.S. without legal status are wary of the police and reluctant to report crime, even when they're the victims of it. NPR's criminal justice reporter Meg Anderson has this report.
In Santa Fe County, New Mexico last month, local police addressed a packed auditorium. New Mexico State Police Chief Troy Weisler tried to reassure county residents.
When we respond to calls or investigate crimes, we do not care if someone is a citizen or not.
Santa Fe Police Chief Paul Joy didn't wear his uniform out of fear it would make people nervous.
Whatever happens around the country, whoever is president, you are our community. We are your officers.
Meetings like this are playing out nationwide. Police are holding town halls, releasing videos and statements, adding FAQ sections to their websites. They're trying to communicate the same message. They are not immigration officers. But that can be tricky. At the Santa Fe meeting, County Sheriff Adan Mendoza said his agency does sometimes work with federal authorities, but...
To be transparent, the only time that we would ever cooperate with ICE would be...
Should be for like ongoing investigations into violent crimes or potentially handing over violent felons, which I think everybody would probably agree with.
Cooperate with ICE would be if somebody has committed a major felony.
Yeah.
That's not the case everywhere. Police agencies have different rules for how they work or don't with ICE.
But you got to figure, too, this is the argument. One of the arguments, by the way, regardless of how you feel about them, this is one of the arguments for sanctuary cities, is you got to be able to enforce crime, whether they're legal or illegal or whatever the you can't let crime run rampant. And when you have a system that is aggressively trying to vet people or aggressively searching for illegal immigrants, you're discouraging certain communities from reporting crime because now they're not sure if they're going to get deported if the cops show up or if something happens, you know? This is why... I don't know if I want to make that generalization. No, I will, because it's the responsible thing to do. I have to counter message all the lefties. Like, if you or your friends are like, hi, if you're drunk or if you've done something, you're not supposed to do it, but there's like some serious shit going down, you should call the cops. I'll say from my personal experience, and I can't generalize this to everybody, but from my personal experience, if cops show up and there's like some serious shit going down, if a cop like stumbles across some weed or whatever, he's not there to like bust your balls on it. Like, generally they're more happy that you called than you didn't. I don't know if that would be true necessarily, maybe in every single circumstance, but don't ever like let yourself get into some serious crazy shit or let other people convince you. Like if you're a girl and you're at some dude's house and you know you're whatever's going on and you feel like you need to call the cops and the guy's like, don't, we're already, you know, we're high on cocaine and the cops will fuck you up or whatever. Like don't ever be afraid of shit like that. That's retarded. You're living in like the weird lefty world where cops are just showing up to fucking kill you or whatever. That's not always the case. That's like 50% of the... I'm just kidding. But yeah, but you can't really trust them to enforce crime if they are falsely labeling everyone as some kind of terrorist or violent offender and blackbagging them off to El Salvador. Sure, but that's what you're talking about there. These are federal officers that work for ICE. It's not the same as your local police enforcement or your local law enforcement. These are different. They're different. A totally different agency, totally different mission. But cops hardly ever make things better in most situations. Cops, in the overwhelming amount of situations, will make things better. There are bad times where they don't, and those times will show up on YouTube if they don't, but generally speaking, you're better off having them there than not. At Destiny, okay, Leon's Law, okay, you're a lawyer, okay. Because I'm reading your statement now, and I don't... You said, my homie passed out and shattered his hip hitting a tree with his car. When the cops showed up, they arrested him for having a weed pen. They probably should have arrested your friend because it sounds like they showed up to a scene with a fucking accident happening where your friend sounds like he was driving under the influence and they found narcotics on him while he was passed out and crashed in his car after he hit a tree. So in that case, they probably should arrest him. Yes, what the fuck?
Many police chiefs have opted to risk the ire of the federal government to preserve trust with immigrant communities. That can be a tenuous bond in the best of times. And leaders NPR spoke to say they're worried immigrants are already reporting fewer crimes. Studies show immigration status can be a barrier to calling the police. Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara says that jeopardizes public safety.
If people are not willing to call us and tell us what's going on, tell us they've been victimized, cooperate as witnesses, all of that leads to a situation that makes the potential for everyone in this city to be victimized that much worse.
Republican Sheriff Chad Bianco in Riverside County, California, is in favor of Trump's immigration efforts. But he regularly speaks with farm owners in his county. He says many of them employ people.
The problem is that like everybody's in favor of a broad thing until it's applied to them in particular. Like if you ask somebody, like, do you think that violent people, do you think that people that have been convicted of a violent felony should be allowed to own firearms? They're like, absolutely not. No, never. That should just never, like, that's bad. No, violent felons shouldn't have access to these things. Like, okay, fine. It's like, okay, well, we're taking all your guns. Like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Well, you might be 47 years old, but when you were 21, weren't you convicted of assaulting that guy outside of a bar when you got drunk? And it's like, okay, well, hold on, bro. Yeah, but like I pled guilty to it. It was a bar fight. It was dumb, but that was like 30 years ago, bro. Like as soon as it's them, all of a sudden we have to, well, hold on, wait. We need to like fairly analyze the situation. The broad brush ain't gonna work for me, homie, okay? Get the scalpel out, what the f? And it's always like this, whether you're talking about Brexit, we need to leave the EU. Okay, well, how? Oh, how? What do you mean how, brother? 2 years debating that. Whether it's abortion is always wrong. Okay, well, that chick that you hooked up with last night, she's pregnant. And it's like, actually, Nietzsche and Hume have interesting things to say about the concept of life and the meaning and value of it. It's like, okay, well, all right, Chief, yeah. People like Asmund Gold want every single illegal immigrant to be deported, no matter if they have committed violent crimes or not, no matter if they have jobs and have lived in the U.S. for decades, simply because they crossed the border legally. Do you think the reason for why he thinks this way is simply because he cares that much about the law, or is there something else happening? It's if you don't see somebody, if you don't interact with somebody, it's very easy to dehumanize them, right? He probably just hasn't had a single interaction with anybody that he knows is an illegal immigrant, unfortunately. If I notice someone being suddenly grabbed and being dragged away by unidentified people who are ICE officers in civilian clothing, do I have the right to try and stop them, even with the Second Amendment? Yeah, you have the right if they don't identify themselves.
Shows that people perhaps are concerned with and our new Fox News polling shows that people perhaps are concerned with how things are going. This is as of March 14th. Those that say they disapprove, 56%, more than half. Those who approve of the president's handling of the economy is at 43%. And in that same polling, we asked about the most important issue facing the country today, and top of the list is inflation. And the economy is number 2, and jobs. Those are first and second as it goes down to political division and preservation of democracy. Is the president doing enough to answer?
These are Fox News polls too. Whew, I think, right? They said these were their polls.
The needs and demands of the American voter when it comes to the economy and lowering prices.
The president and his economic team are working on this effort every single day. And the president is not only trying to fix the mess created by the previous administration's incompetence and reckless spending, he is trying to fix decades of unfair trade practices that have ripped our country off, that have sent jobs overseas, and that have forced millions of Americans out of their jobs.
Why the f do we care about? Why do we elect Trump if he was just going to blame Biden the whole time? We might as well have just gotten Biden or Kamala.